funny because I'd actually forgotten about this solo, and that's probably because I wore out the CD that it's on. But because I made the Joe Henderson video a few weeks ago, then I started thinking about Joe Henderson, and I also thought about this song and this album, because this solo is John Scofield's solo on Milestones, and that's off the album with Joe Henderson where they're playing only Miles tunes. I think Scofield really nails it on this solo. It's a fantastic solo. It's also a really great song, so if you don't know the song, you should definitely check it out. In this video, I'm going to go over a few phrases from that solo, and they're really good illustrations of how Scofield uses double time and also how he executes it, because he doesn't really rely a lot on alternate picking. He has his own way of doing this, and it gives him certain phrasing ideas and also just a certain sound that's really great to check out. There's also some good examples of how he's using polyphony and several voices within his solos, and of course some of the Scofieldisms, which is some of the pentatonic melodies that he really uses a lot. My name is Jens Larsen, learn jazz, make music. The first example here doesn't really immediately sound like an example of how he's using pentatonic scales, but actually that is what is being used here. So the first part of it is just a 2-5-1, so the C minor, F7 back to B flat, and then on the B flat major 7 we get first these two intervals, which are actually coming out of an A minor pentatonic, and then the same idea turned around, which is coming out of a B minor pentatonic. So he's just moving it up 2 frets essentially. And that means that we get sort of a B flat major 7 sharp 11 sound on the B flat major. And then, I mean, it may be over-interpreting this, but he's going back to C minor for the second A, since this is the ending of the first A. So I think he's playing kind of like a B minor up to C minor here as just a minor, parallel minor leading chord. He does something similar in the, I think the next chorus, where he's coming out in the first A on the B flat, and then he plays a C sharp minor to go back to C minor. So he is kind of busy with the parallel minor thing in this solo, and it's also a part of the piece, so that's why I'm thinking he's probably doing that here. Since I'm anyway busy with this being one of my favorite Scofield solos on one of my favorite songs, then we might as well just add that this is probably my favorite place and my favorite phrase in the solo. Milestones is an AABA form, and it's in the key of B flat major, but the bridge is moving to A major and then keeps on moving and modulates to G major right away. And that's really a lot happening at once, and we're kind of going far away. And the way Scofield works with this is that he makes sure to play some really strong, fairly simple melodic statements, but he's also adding all sorts of stuff around it. First he plays a 2-5 to take us to the bridge, so that's just B minor to E7 and then to an A major 7 chord. Then the melody that he's playing, he's first just starting on the 7th, so G sharp, plays an A, but he sustains both notes, so we get this interval. And then while he's moving down the scale here, kind of sustaining the A a little bit to get this almost like a country type of thing. Oh. Down to the chord part of an A minor 7, and then a simple melody on the D7, and on the G major 7 he gets into this where it's really just B minor pentatonic melody. So if we take away all the other notes that he's playing, then basically he's just playing this really simple melody. So just a really strong 8th note melody, lots of scale movement, nothing special, but just flowing really nicely through the changes. And then the second part of this is a 2-5-1, which is B minor, E7 to take us to the A minor in the next line. And here he's really using B minor pentatonic, and also very sort of typical, using a lot of pull-offs to play the phrase, so moving up to the flat 9 on the E7, and then sliding down from the A to the G sharp, back up to the F, so really a lot of larger intervals, so, and then going down to the E on the A minor 7. And this is one of the things that I think Scofield is really, really good at, because we have this phrase which is in part just a pentatonic phrase, which isn't really a bebop phrase in that way, but the way he plays it and the way he's using legato really helps phrase it in sort of a very traditional bop way, because the pull-offs really just gives accents to the D and the A, like it's supposed to be according to the bebop phrasing rules. So, and then he just really flows into a very natural bebop phrase on the E7, and in that way just transitions between kind of two types of melodic language in a way that's extremely nice. And what you'll see in one of the later examples is also how he's using this in double time to actually do things that are really not common when it comes to playing double time in jazz. This phrase is mostly a double time line, and it's a very typical Scofield double time line. And I think he's actually the only guy who plays phrases like this. If you know somebody who plays a phrase like this, mixing several types of melodies and also using repeated ideas in the middle of a double time line like this, then leave a comment on this video. So the first part is just on the A flat minor 7, D flat 7. And that's just a straight bebop line, so fairly simple. Then we get C minor, and here we start getting this repeated idea with the D pull off to C, so which is just a very practical way of playing 16th notes, really. Shifting that up to C sharp minor, developing it, and then one more development. And I think this is really nice to see that you can also play 16 note lines that are repeating, and you don't have to repeat forever. So what I often come across when people are using repeated ideas is that they'll take one idea and then repeat it over several bars. And I mean, like Metheny does this quite a lot. But not really like this, where you get just a small set of repeats in the middle of a line and then he keeps on going. And I think that's a very nice, and also still just developing a motif in a double time line like this. It's a very nice touch, I think. Then when he moves into sort of a very typical Scofield line, which is just pretty much all pentatonic on the B minor, and then another sort of pentatonic phrase on the E7 taking us down to the G sharp, and then back to the normal swing time, so the 8th notes. And then the final part is just a run up a B flat major triad, ending on the major 7 and then just adding a trill on it. So also just a lot of phrasing ideas. And I think Scofield is really good at using different types of phrasing, especially legato, like hammer-on pull-off and slides, but also these trills, just to add different sounds to his lines and keeping it interesting in that way. Something that we don't actually see that often in jazz. The next two examples are actually fitting together in a really nice way, because we again have a part of the bridge where he's playing sort of a really strong, really simple melody, but then this is really contrasted with a very angular double time line right after it. So this is of course just the beginning of it, really the simple melody, and it's just a motif that's moved around. So again coming out on the major 7 here, and then in the middle of the D7, so we have A minor D7. We get a repeat of the motif, but it's moved a half a bar, so coming out on the G major, and then just rounding it off with, again, kind of using B minor pentatonic on the G major 7. I think maybe I got that from him actually. So this is again just a really simple, strong melodic motif moved through the modulations and the changes in a very elegant way. This line immediately follows the very strong melodic idea that we had in the previous example, and it also is just a nice contrast to have first a very strong, simple melodic idea, and then we get this angular double time line with some kind of funny intervals in them. It's also a great example of how I think Scofield is really often using sort of a practical approach to things. So he takes the things that are easy to play and then he gets those to sound good. I think that's really a huge part of how his lines seem to be constructed to me, and that really does seem to be a very efficient way to go about it, of course. So first we get this string skipping idea, which is, and I think it's just using legato to give your right hand time to move, a slide, and then just really outlining sort of an E7 sharp 9. Again using legato to give the time, the right hand time, and then resolving this a little bit over the bar line on the A minor 7. If you want to check out some more videos where I'm analyzing Scofield solos and checking out how he's using whole tone scale or dominant flat 5 arpeggios, then check out this playlist where I have some videos. I'm analyzing a solo on There'll Never Be Another You and another one on a medium blues in B flat. That's about it for this time. Thank you for watching, and until next time.